One thing that I can't stand when I watch someone's tutorial is the lack of a payoff in the first 30 seconds. And what's a payoff? Well, it's me basically showing you what you're going to make by the end of this video. So here's a payoff. What you're seeing on screen right now is a full screen replay, and there's going to be a lot of cool little features in here, like the ability to toggle on a slow motion version of your replay, as well as only capture the gameplay visuals and the gameplay audio. So no alert audio, no audio from your background music or your Discord voice chat, not even your microphone or your webcam if you want to. You can completely isolate the gameplay with its audio and review it that way, and I think that's going to be a really cool feature for a lot of people. We're going to be using these great looking assets, which, by the way, I made all of these myself and I've made them free to everybody. You can grab them on my Gumroad page, which is in the description below. It's pay what you want with zero minimum, so you don't have to pay me anything. If you feel like giving me some money though, you know I'll take it. What was that? Also, you don't have to overwrite your replay every single time anymore. This is going to save all your replays, and I'm going to show you how to set up a way to go back and review all of your replays as well. I'll show you how to do that as well right after this really intrusive Okay, let's not waste any time. You're going to need a handful of plugins, and those 3 plugins are Transition Table, Directory Watch Media, and Source Record. Now, I'm not going to show you how to install those plugins in this video because I've already made a video on how to install OBS plugins, so if you don't know how to do it, watch that video. It's pretty straightforward. Then come back here and we'll get started. So now your plugins are installed, you've opened up OBS, head down to Settings and go to Output. At the top here, you're going to see 4 tabs. We're looking for the Replay Buffer tab. So click on that, and if it isn't enabled, enable it here and hit Apply. Next, head up to General, scroll down to this Output section, and you're going to want to check this option right here, Automatically Start Replay Buffer when streaming. Once that's checked, hit Apply and hit OK. You'll now have this button right here. Just click that so you've started your replay buffer, and we'll move on to the next step. And that next step is adding a source record filter to your gameplay source. Now, if we come down here and just click on filters, we're going to see that I have 2 filters set up already. One is a scaling aspect ratio filter, and the other is the source record filter. By default, the game resolution I run at is 1440p. And if I don't have this aspect ratio filter on, the source record has a hard time recording these clips. So to keep it simple and keep it the same size as my OBS canvas, which is 1080p, I put this scaling aspect ratio filter on. I set the scale filtering to area, and I change the resolution to the base canvas resolution right here, which is 1080p. So if it's matching that, we're good to go. The next filter here is a source record filter, and when you click on the plus sign, you should be able to see source record right there. So add this and then we'll get it set up. Now, I've left record mode to none. The path here is where you're going to save your replays. Just make a folder called Save Replays, whatever you want to call it, and direct this path to that folder, and that is all you need to do for that. The file name formatting, it's not really important, and the recording format I'm using is MKV. A lot of people will use MP4, and that's absolutely fine, but the great thing about MKV is if for some reason your OBS crashes and you're in the middle of maybe saving a really great replay, MKV will not corrupt the file. It will still let you play the file up to the point where, say, OBS crashed or your computer crashed. If you're using an MP4 file, it's more likely to corrupt. There are ways to save MP4 files, but it is just easier to record this in MKV, and then whenever you're done, if you want to use this in video editing programs or whatever, you can come up to here to File, go to Remux Recordings, and you can see at the top here, you just have to click on the 3 dots, find the MKV files that you want to remux, and then just click Remux, which just changes it into an MP4, and then you'll have it ready to go for editing or whatever you want. Scrolling down here, you can see there is a replay buffer, and it's set to 12 seconds. It's really up to you what you set this to, but just make sure you check this, make sure that's enabled and that your replay buffer is running, because these are connected, but we don't need to worry about the duration in the replay buffer tab in settings. Under different audio, you're going to want to check this and select whatever audio track your gameplay source is playing through, as well as the source. And if I go into advanced audio properties, you're going to see my gameplay source is set to track 2 and track 2 only, and I've set it up that way right here as well. This just makes sure that the replay audio comes through whenever you're recording these clips. And at the very bottom here, we have the encoder section. These are the settings I'm using here. You don't need to use these. You could probably even use a lower bit rate for this. You could use half that and still have a good quality clip to check out. It's up to you. This next bit is totally optional. It's one of the assets from the Gumroad package that is free to download in the description. And it's just a little pop-up that basically indicates that you have saved a replay. It's kind of cool. If I just play it back here, you can see it pops up just above a webcam. You can make it bigger. I've actually downsized it so it can be bigger if you want it to be. And all I've done is added this in as a media source. Use these settings if you want to have the same setup as me. We're going to bind that to the same hotkey that we're going to use to save replays. So when we hit that hotkey, not only will it save a replay for us, it's going to give a visual indicator on the stream to say that a replay was saved. One thing that I do with a lot of stuff in OBS is adjust the scale filtering, and that just smooths the edges of some things if they look a bit jagged. So if you've right clicked on the replay saved asset, come up to scale filtering and just set it to area. Now if we head to settings, and we're going to set up the hotkey for saving our replay and showing the little visual indicator that we just set up. I've just brought up this filter window again of our gameplay capture just to point out that I've called this game replay 10 seconds. And if we scroll down here, you can see gameplay source, which is the name of our gameplay capture source, and the filter name, which is game replay 10 seconds. If the source name and the filter name correspond to your source name and filter name, then this is where you need to set your save replay hotkey. So I have Control and H set in there. And if I scroll right down, you can see my other source, which was the replay saved source, and I've just set the restart keybind to Control H as well. Come out of this, hit Control H, and that has saved a replay, and it's indicated on the screen that we've done so. The next step is making an instant replay scene. Simply click here, click add, and call this an instant replay scene or whatever you want. And after you've done that, you're going to add a stinger transition to OBS. You can do that over in the scene transition section. Just click on the plus button, come down to stinger, call it whatever you want to call it, and then you're going to go find the video file that I've made available in the free assets on my Gumroad page. Just click browse and load that in here. A couple of more things to do before we finish up in here. The first of which is changing the transition point. We're going to make this 1500 milliseconds. So put that there. And then down in audio monitoring, you can set this to monitor only mute output or monitor and output. So now that your stinger is set up, you're going to come up to tools and come down to transition table, which should be available because you've installed it, right? I know you installed it. I know you did. So the first thing you're going to do is go to the from field, select any, then in the to field, select your instant replay scene here, and the transition type is going to be the stinger that we've just set up. Don't worry about the duration. We've already set a transition point, so it's going to listen to that instead. Click on set, and then same again, only the other way around. Put the instant replay scene in the from field and any in the to field. Hit set again, and that's both of them set up. Now you're not going to be able to see both of them until you clear all these fields. So if we just clear the from and the to field, you're going to see right here, it should look like this. That should be the transition into and out of your instant replay scene now set up. Now there's a few things that I have set up in here. I've disabled them for now so I can show you bit by bit. But the first thing and the most important thing is to add a media source, and then we're going to put the directory watch media filter onto that media source. So if you right click, go to add, click on media source, and you should get something pop up that looks like this. Don't worry about putting a local file in here. The directory watch media filter is going to do that for us. The main things to focus on in here are the looping option, restart playback, show nothing when playback ends, and the close file when active option. If you've got those four checked, hit OK, and then right click on the actual media source and go into filters. Now you'll see there's only one filter on here, a directory watch media. If you right click and go to directory watch media, add that in here, and right away the top field, you can see I've pointed this towards the saved replays folder that we've already set up. Just point it towards the same folder you've set up for yourself. The next field is sort by, and you should set this to created newest. This means that whenever it sees the most recently created clip, it's going to show that on this media source. Since we're using MKV to save our clips, I'm going to change the extension to MKV. There's no need for a filter, and I didn't touch the interval lever. That should be everything you need in here. Just hit close. The next thing I want to add in here is basically a replay sign. I see this on the CCT replays, for example. They just have replay up to just point out what it is. If someone came into your stream and didn't know you were watching a replay, it's just easier to kind of say that's a replay we're watching right now. So I have a group here, and inside it I've got a text file and and a color source. And if I just activate this, I can show you the text file right here. It's just replay, and I'm using a font called Big Noodle Titling. You can get this online pretty easily for free. And below that, I have a color source, which sits behind it. And on that color source, I've got a couple of filters. The first filter is a color correction filter, and I'm just using that to reduce the opacity so you can kind of see through it a little bit. The next filter is an image mask filter, and in here we've set this type to alpha mask alpha channel, and the path is pointing towards a webcam mask which you can get for free in NerdDie's webcam mask pack. I'll make a link available to that in the description, and it's free, so do grab it. That's everything we've done in here. Just hit close on that, and then you should be able to resize the actual background. It'll load up as a full-size color source, but whenever it does, you can see here, I've just loaded a color source. If I hold shift and click drag, I can reshape this however I like. And just to emphasize, what that image mask does is it adds little round corners onto the edges of the background. So it's totally optional. If it's something you like, it is there for you. As well as that, I have grouped these together, and if you don't know how to do that, simply shift click on the sources that you want to group, then right click and come up to group selected items. Once you do that, you just name the group and you can do whatever you like with it afterwards. And the last thing I want to show you is a slow motion toggle. This is using a lot of what we've already implemented into the instant replay scene, and we'll just start from the ground up here. So the first thing I did was I added another media source, and I pointed the directory watch media to the same place our replays are, set it up exactly the same as we did our previous replay, and on top of that I put a color correction and I just desaturated it a bit because I feel like slow motion needs to be desaturated for some reason. I don't know. You don't have to do that, but I like it. The next thing I did was I took the background we have up here and the replay text, copied it, and I pasted them as duplicates. I put both of those just above our instant replay. I didn't group them though because we're actually going to group all of the slow motion stuff together. So just put them in the same places where they would be on the normal replay scene. On top of that, I added in a little slow motion text, and then I grouped all of these together. Then come down to show transition and click on stinger. Now, another asset from the pack I gave you guys is a slow motion replay WebM. You stick this in here. The transition point is 800 milliseconds for this one, and it should be okay if you've set it up how I have it here. Then come to hide transition, head to stinger again, only this time we're going to use the instant replay splash WebM, and we're going to set this to 800 milliseconds on the transition point as well. Monitor and output, all the same stuff as before, and that should be your show and your hide now done. And before we show this, I want to actually also set some show and hide transitions on the instant replay. You can set this to fade if you want it to fade out the black. The idea is it just dims away as it shows the other replay. Now I've got all the transitions set up, but I actually just want to do one more thing before we set this up. And I noticed whenever I transition into this, it kind of looks squashed immediately and then full screens. That's because of the order of things being switched on here. The easiest way to combat against this is to add in something that it can toggle on really quickly. That's the full size of the canvas. So if we right click on the slow motion group and just add in a color source, doesn't matter what it is, I'm just going to call it transparent, doesn't matter about the color, just drag it into the group, put it below your instant replays or wherever. Then on filters of that, add a color correction filter and just set the opacity to 0. It's going to have no impact on your CPU, and it's going to make this work far better. Now head in settings and head down to hotkeys, and we're going to look for the instant replay scene. You can see here I have a toggle for showing and hiding the normal speed instant replay, and it's the exact same keybind for showing and hiding the slow motion instant replay group we've made. Set that to whatever you want. So I forgot to actually show how to do the slow motion bit. I'm just going to shoehorn it into the video. If we double click on the media source that we've set up for slow motions and just set the playback speed to 50%, that's your slow motion. You can make it as fast or as slow as you want. So now with all our hotkeys set, we can just hit Control Shift and K, and we've got our slow motion in action. We have a desaturated color correction set up here. Then above that, we have the slow motion text, which is actually using the same text style as the replay on our normal speed. And just below that is the original replay text. However, I've changed the color to this red here, and I've actually just added a color correction onto it and reduced the opacity a bit as well. And if I hit that again, our Control Shift and K, I've hidden it, and we go back to this. Then when we go back to our gameplay scene, we have that. And that is the whole setup for a full screen instant replay. One final thing, and this is very straightforward to set up, is a way to look through all your clips effectively. Now you can dress this up however you want. I haven't actually set this up myself, but I'm just going to do it bit by bit. It's very, very quick and very easy to understand. I've just made a scene called Clip Review Scene, and I'm going to add in a VLC video source. Then I'm going to click on the plus button and I'm going to add a directory. You can see where this is going. I've got the Save Plays directory right here. I select folder. I have loop playlist on, and I have the visibility behavior to stop when not visible and to restart when visible. Now you can set up buttons for all of this. You can do hotkeys for everything. If I come into settings, go to hotkeys, I can see clip review video source. I have everything here that I need. You can set this up as you like, or you can even control it in OBS from here. And that's it. That's the full screen replay setup. But if you wanted a nested scene replay where it pops into your gameplay scene while you're playing to show some of your best bits, even in slow motion, I've got a video on that. It should be a breeze to set up as well, and you can use both. I've also got a small video on creating dramatic zooms with a simple hotkey. So if you wanted to, say, enhance the zoom on a replay to see the detail, someone far away in a sniper shot if you're playing Call of Duty or whatever, you can totally do that, and it's really simple to set up with all of this. All right, happy replaying. See you next time.